Hey mathematicians, let's do your homework. Alright, so our first shape is a parallelogram. Parallelograms have an area formula of area equals base times height, same as rectangles and squares. So let's look. We got three numbers, one of which we do not need to use. We know that the base and the height must always form a right angle. So our base is going to be this 20 and 4/10, and our height is going to be this 8 and 1/4. Now, given that all of our answer choices are in decimal form, I'm going to change 8 and 1/4 into 8, and 1/4 is equivalent to 25/100, like 1/4, 25 cents. Now I'm going to multiply those two numbers to find my area. Next question. Dimensions of the rectangular prism. All right, so you've got two formulas you can use. You can use volume equals the area of the base times the height. Capital B secretly means you have to do the length times the width. So 3 times 4.2. And then you can get that answer and multiply it times 8.5. The one I prefer to use is volume equals length times width, which is the same as capital B, times height, because it's all in front of you and you see three variables and you know, oh, I should be doing three different numbers that get multiplied together. And those three numbers are 3 times 4 and 2/10 times 8.5. Again, I'm going to change 8.5 into decimal form. And you're going to choose two of those numbers to start with. That doesn't look too terrible. I might even pretend it's 42 times 3. That's 6, that's 12, and then I can add my decimal point. Oh, actually there should be one number after my decimal point. Okay, so now you're going on 12 and 6/10 times 8.5. Well, if you want to, you can pretend that that is 126 times 85. Multiply it out. Don't forget to add in a decimal with two numbers after your decimal point. And it's either going to be one of these three options or it's not going to be there. So multiply carefully because not there is kind of tricky. Like if you make a math mistake, you can't be like, well, I'll just pick the one that's closest. Because not here, maybe it's that really it's not there, or maybe you made a little error. So careful on that multiplication. All right, we have a triangular mural. Triangular means it's describing a triangle. Area equals 1/2 of the base times the height. The triangle, oh, we already know the area. Area is 254 equals 1/2 of the base. The base is B. We don't know it. We're going to leave it as a B. And the H is still H. But we want to know what this formula looks like, what this equation looks like when it's isolated for H, which means that we need to move this times 1/2 times B to the other side. So we have 254. Let's start with the half. The opposite of times 1/2 could be divided by 1/2. We could say 254 divided by 1/2. But I don't actually see that anywhere, and dividing by 2 is not the same thing. Another option is to say, okay, well, what if I actually did that multiplication? I would make this a fraction, then I would keep my first fraction the same, change it to multiplication, and multiply by the reciprocal. And I do see a couple options that are talking about 254 times 2. So that isolates our 1/2. If we multiply by the reciprocal, those will cancel out. 254 times 2 equals BH. We still want H alone, so we're going to divide both sides by B. Divide that by B. And I only see one of those two options, C or D, that has a divided by B in it. Oh, I was going to say last one, but it's not. Second to last one. The triangle QRS, QRS, you don't need to draw it, but sometimes it's helpful. The angle of the measure of RSQ, the middle letter is what we're actually talking about, S is 15 and 6/10 degrees. Middle of QRS, okay, R is 89. Does not match my drawing, but that's okay. 89.1, and then we want to know what angle Q is. So, first step, add the two angles that you do know. Your second step is going to be to subtract this answer from 180 degrees. Since we're looking at decimals, I'm going to just go ahead and call it 180.0 degrees so that you can line up your decimals. Subtract what that answer was, and then that will give you your final answer. Now for real, the last one. It is a trapezoid. The area formula for a trapezoid is area equals 1/2 of base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Our two bases are the two lines that run parallel that will never ever touch. 3.5 plus 5. If you wrote 5 plus 3.5, that is fine. Our height, it's not going to be one of these. These are called the legs because these do not make a nice right angle. They're not standing up straight to get their height measured. 2 is our height. You cannot just be like, I'm using all the right numbers, and then mix up their order. You can mix up the order when they're inside the parentheses, because adding, it doesn't matter which order it is, but you can't put the 2 inside the parentheses and the 5 outside, because then you'll get a different answer. Parentheses come first, add it up. Times 2. Oh, here's a nice easy one. What's half of 2? 1. Area equals 1 times 8.5. Oops, I accidentally put 2 points. I think you can probably figure out what our answer is. Oh! And now you're done with your homework. I'll see you tomorrow.